Okay.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about reports. This is part two of reports, and we're going to be talking about why you need reports, and then some of the most valuable reports that we have, and some things that we want you to pay attention to as you're going through reports. If you have any questions, you can put them in the question box, and we'll get to them. So, Dave, take it away.
Okay. Definitely looking forward to getting a lot of input from you guys today. So I know a lot of people have different questions about how I get information, or they're looking for a certain type of information. So if you guys have something like that, feel free to just jump in as we're going through some of these reports and let us know, and we can kind of point you in the right direction. Another thing, neat thing that we've been working on here is a manual that goes over all of the reports in the reports menu inside of Clip. So basically, we just started going through each report that we have here and giving a nice, thorough kind of description of it and what type of information you can get and how you can see it. And we actually went a step further and even said, and this is probably why you would want to pull this report.
Hmm.
So
That's going to be very
got that.
helpful. You should probably spend some time just paging through that, print it out, and just page through it. Let's say when it's rainy or when you have a chance to just give you a feeling for the type of information that you're missing. How many pages? That 180 pages long so far?
Yeah, and but it also includes some stuff from Mail Merge too. So
Okay.
there's a really in-depth section that goes over how to do some Mail Merge tasks and stuff inside of Word. Um, but most of these are maybe 1 or 2 pages with some screenshots. So like, for example, customer list, a couple screenshots here. One caveat, I mean, I am going to release it. Just stick it on, as a link so you guys can download it if you want to use it and follow along. But we're still going through and revising it and doing some spell checking and stuff like that. So if you do want to just shoot me an email if you do find anything, support@clip.com. Just let me know. But I'd like to get it into your hands now since we're kind of at the beginning of the season. We're getting close to where you guys are really going to be going full-fledged mowing, and you guys are going to get outdoors. So I want you guys to be able to have that now. So what I'll do is I'll just grab this link and drop it on the chat. And if you click on that, then it will start downloading.
All right.
And
Well,
I'm going to, what's that?
I said, all right. That looks good. It looks like it's going to be very helpful to us.
Definitely. And I will be using it somewhat for my reference too as we go through here. So last time we finished up talking about some reports, especially we went through a couple of customer reports, I believe, and then we started to go through some job reports too. We went through the crew and route report and work projections. So both of those reports were pretty straightforward, and then today we were going to try and tackle this job costing report, give you an idea of what that report does and what you guys can use it for. So
If you haven't watched the webinar on the 30% profit and how to make 20 or 30% profit, that's crucial to how what this job costing report is good for. I've often said that the job costing report is the most important report in all of CLIP. I mean, it's it. It has to do with how efficient, how good your company is, and it boils it all down to $2 per hour.
it definitely is the most important one. And when you pay somebody, you usually pay them dollars per hour. So really, the question that you're asking with this job costing report is, how much are my customers paying me? It's an important question that you need to answer for your company so that you can figure out, okay, do I like this customer, or do I need to drop them and let them find another lawn company that they can weasel money out of, or basically just, you know,
Who's your
you
best
don't want to
customer?
keep the right. Who's your best customer, and who are the customers that you need to get rid of? So you don't want to be paying a customer to go out and do their lawn. So this will help you find that information. So this job costing report has a couple different filters that you can use, different things to kind of narrow down the information that you want to see. Crew range is the first one here up at the top. So if you only want to see a certain crew, you want to see how profitable their route is or how profitable that crew is, you can narrow it down that way. So I could do crew 1 to 1, do crews 1 through 10, and narrow it down that way. Customers, if you want to just do a group of customers, right now I'm just looking at a small chunk of my customers, 1009 to 1200. So just looking at those account numbers. This is actually real data. I grabbed a copy of Clip Lawn Care's data from yesterday, and we're going to be looking at some of the past information for like a year or maybe 2 years in the past. So the job numbers that I'm looking at are all jobs. If you only wanted to do jobs, say 1 and 10, then you can use the comma, just like in other places inside of Clip. Or if I wanted to do jobs 1 through 10, that includes jobs 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., use the dash. And that's what that examples is down there at the bottom. So I'm going to do all jobs. Start date. Typically, some people will pull this report on a monthly basis, which I think is really good because that allows you to stay on top of how you're doing for the month. The only thing to keep in mind is you might be making less money during the spring and then making more money when the summer kind of kicks in. So I know, especially for those of you that have contract customers, you make a lot of money during the summertime when the grass isn't growing as much, and you maybe even lose a little bit of money during the springtime to hang on to that customer. So it's important to keep that in mind. If you're trying to get a real good feel, like you're going to be sending out your contracts, you want to see which customers you need to raise and which ones you might want to leave at the same price, then you're going to want to pull this report for a full year because that'll give you a good idea of an entire season.
Yeah, because you want to see what this customer is worth to you. So again, your dollars per hour are going to vary from month to month, but the bottom line is if you have a yearly contract, which most people do, that yearly contract is what you're looking at. Does this customer make me money? Does he cost me money? Where is he in my list of customers as to least valuable to most valuable, and that sort of thing. So that's what you're looking for here on this. So you can compare apples with apples and compare one customer with another customer and be able to see which ones I should keep and which ones I should get rid of.
Definitely. Some other options that we've got while this is running. One is show history. So if you want to see the line items on the report for each time that you went out and did it, then check that box. I really like to see that. I like to see all the detail first and then pull maybe a summary report or something that just gives me the totals and print that out. But it's good to be able to see each line of data, and that way you can also look and see, oh, is there anything that's incorrect that I need to go back to a customer's account and correct. So that's what show history will do for you. Contract jobs only will only show the jobs that are marked with a bill type of include in contract. So it will really only pull your installment jobs. Only jobs that are under or over the projected time. Basically, that will cut out any jobs that are time and materials job. So if you go to John Smith's lawn and you charge him, say, $40 per every hour that you're working on his lawn, then you know that you're going to be making $40 per hour. So if you want to cut out those jobs that you already know what you're making per hour, then you can check off that box. That'll get you more relevant data, I guess, more important data. Include jobs on hold. If you're doing this at the beginning of the year and you turn off all your jobs, then you'll want to make sure that you check that off. Active customers only will only do your active customers. Same kind of thing as the jobs that are on hold. If you turn all your customers on hold and before you send out the contracts and get them back, then you're going to want to uncheck that box so that you see all the on hold customers as well. another thing that one practice that a lot of companies do that I don't like at all is they will do a 3% raising of their customers across the board. We covered kind of what that does in the past. We went over some of how that will affect your company, but I'd like to just point out to you guys again that if you do it that way, then you're going to lose the customers that you're making the most money on, and you're going to keep the customers that you're losing money on or you're not making very much profit with. If you have a, for example, I'll pull a report here. And then you can see, like for Jane Kinney, we're only making $18.76 per hour. If we raise her job 3%, she's probably going to stay with us because she can't get a better deal. And we're probably going to be losing money on that job since our hourly costs are about $23 an hour. Again, that's something else that we covered in a previous webinar. So if you're confused on that, check out that webinar afterwards.
So the idea here is, something that we have preached, if I may, for many years, and that is that every time you send out a letter that says I'm raising your prices, what you're really telling the customers, can you please go out and rebid? Can you go out and find out if I'm the best best deal for you? And what that does is that kills you, because the jobs, if you go towards the end of this report, Dave, you'll see that we have some jobs that are making us some really good money. And if we don't really want those guys to go out and rebid. They're a perfect customer. They're fitting us just right. It's the type of thing that we want to do and we like, and then they're in the area that we like, and maybe they're a neighbor of somebody that we like and stuff like that. And the last thing I want to do is get them to go out and rebid and get some neighborhood kid that wants to come in and do it. I like doing that job. I don't want to lose it. So what do we got? What's our highest one? $77 a man hour. Look at that, $80.50 per man hour. It's like that, man, I wish I could do all of them like that. Think of how much money the company would make if all of our customers were doing $80 a man hour.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the way to do it. And that's as a company, I think Clip Lawn Care tries to get about $45 an hour.
Yep.
That's what they're shooting for. So with this job, we're making 77. That's almost double, not quite, but getting close to double what we're trying to make. So this customer, if we're say we're making 30% profit on this particular customer, we're actually making 60% profit. Why would I want to raise their price by 3% and risk losing that customer when I'm making 60% profit on them?
Yeah, no way.
So yeah, definitely an important thing to. It's definitely a very important thing to keep track of this information and pull these reports and look at them carefully. The main report that I'd like to pull, or the main customer that we're going to be looking at, is Jenny Tang. This detail option right here under the print options will give me a line-by-line
readout.
On this report. Yeah, thanks.
A list, Dave, a list. It's just a list.
It's a list. So, for example, like 415, we did this job the first time. It was done once. Here's the budgeted, here's the actual, and then I get another one that says 421. So the detail will give me a list of each individual time that I went out and did that job.
Now,
so
where did you get these? Where'd you get these times from, Dave?
Clip to Go. I hope.
Oh, that's where you got it. All right. Just wanted to make sure here. Well, see, that's why you have to have accurate times. You have to know when your guys start and stop these jobs. If you're just saying, "Oh, just get the job done and move on," then you're really losing out on getting this extremely valuable information right here. And I can't tell you how many companies I've looked at, and I said, "Do you record times?" Like, no, I don't have time for it. How can you not have time for it? This is your business. This is what it is. This is the most important thing you can do. And so then, of course, if you use Clip to Go, then your guys are actually the ones that are recording the time. So anyway, I'll give up. I'll
Right.
let you go on
And
this
if
one.
if you do that, it's basically like saying somebody comes up to you and asks you, hey, how much profit does your company make? How much profit did you guys make last year? And you say, oh, I'm too busy. I don't know. I don't pull that number. I don't keep track of that because I'm too busy. I'm just focused on getting the work done. I don't care how much profit I'm making. And that's silly. I mean, we're not in business to lose money. We're trying to keep track of these things and continually do better. So how are we going to be able to do better unless we know how much we did? So for your company, you should know that profit number. But even more specifically, you should know what the profit is for each customer. So that way you know which customers are valuable to you. Same as you want to know whether or not you're making money as a company. So it's very, very silly to not know how much profit you're making each year. Same thing with your customers. You just got to know how valuable that customer is to your company. Okay, so next we're going to just kind of take a walk through this report. The date is obviously the date that we went and did that job. Done number is the time that we were on for that job. So this was the first time that we did that job. This second line here is the second time. The budgeted time is the time allotted for the guys to get the job done. Again, we covered some of this in some other webinars, but I'll go ahead and show you guys real quick where that number comes from. That's going to come from this man-hour rating right here in job detail. And each time you do the job, that will get recorded in there. Okay. Go back to our job costing report. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're pulling a lot of information, this report is going back into each customer's history and looking up that information. So if you're trying to do all of your customers for like 3 years, it's going to take a very long time to run. So you might just want to do it in small pieces or start it and just go to lunch and then come back and it'll be finished.
That always works.
Yep. So, and if you pull, also if you don't show history on it, it'll go a whole lot quicker too. But since I want to show you guys each line of it, it takes a little bit longer.
So what as we go through life with our business or something like that, we should be able to watch this this job costing report get better and better and better, and that's the point. The point, if we go back to the initial how to make 30% profit, the idea is that you only have so many hours that you can sell, and then you need to sell each one of these hours for top price, for the best price you possibly can. So that's what this report right here is doing for you.
Okay. Go back to Jenny Tang's account. We'll just stick with that customer. And basically what we see here, that budgeted time comes from that man-hour rating that we've got inside the job. The actual time is how long it took the guys to do the job. So typically clip lawn care goes out in 2-man crews. So this is probably 0.35 man-hours. So this actual time is both of those guys' times put together. So if you have a 3 or 4-man crew, you don't need to worry about it. This is going to be measured with the total time. Same with the budgeted time.
Everything always goes back to man hours, which means if you have one guy out there for 1 hour, it's 1 man hour. But if you have 2 guys out there for an hour, then it's 2 man hours. But everything in CLIP boils down to man hours.
Right. We just have to keep measuring with a single standard. So man hour is the way that we do it. The difference is just the difference between the budgeted and the actual time. So we see that the actual was over by 0.11. If you're wondering how much time 0.11 is, you can just multiply it by 60, and that'll tell you it's 6 minutes and 60 seconds.
Now a tenth of an hour is always 6 minutes because 60 is divided by 10 equals 6. So if you have 1/10 of an hour, it's always 6 minutes. That's an easy rule of thumb that I use.
Gotcha. Just to be able to do math with hours, you have to break it down into a decimal format. So the GL amount, you'll see that for this customer, the charge is 0. The GL amount is $25. The reason that this charge is 0 is because Jenny Tang pays us an installment. So when we go out and do the job, we record that it was completed, but she doesn't actually get charged. She only gets charged at the end of the month when we process her installment. So you'll see the charge is 0, but the GL amount is $25. Now if I go back to her job again, then you'll see even though we don't charge her for it, I still have a charge per job in here. It's marked as including contract, which means that she won't actually get charged. We'll just record the amount the job was worth. So that job is worth $100 each time we go out there. So when you guys do estimates, you probably say, oh, it's going to be $100, each time we come out here to mow the lawn, $60 for the spring cleanup, and $120 for the fall cleanup. And then you put all that information together, and then you write them a monthly contract. So this is just the lawn maintenance portion of it, and this is per week. It's going to be $100 is what that job is worth. Since it's marked including contract, she won't actually get charged for that. She'll just get charged with the installment each month. So some people get that wrong often, so that's why I'm kind of harping on it. People get a little bit confused about entering in the amount, even though it's an installment customer and she's not going to get charged for that job. But it's still important to make sure that you have that amount in there so that you can run a job costing report and figure out exactly how much it was worth to you. So, okay. The formula for job costing that we use is actually going to be price minus materials divided by how long it took the guys to do it. And that will give you the dollars per hour, basically how much money you're making for each hour that the guys are working. So that's how we basically arrive at that number. And since we're measuring it per man hour, it'll all be even across all of our guys. So go back to Jenny Tang's account. I just changed some of my network printers today. Let me do this. We'll just pull up Jenny Tang's account since we're working with her. It looks like somebody's got their hand up in the webinar. I'm not sure if they had a question or something like that. If you could just type it in the question box if you do have a question, and then we'll answer it from there.
Okay.
I guess not.
Not yet. Maybe they just clicked on the wrong thing. That could be.
Could be.
Like all software companies, they constantly change their software. You got to get used to it. So I think I can do this, and I can lower everybody's hand. So there you go. If you have a question, just type it into the question box, and we'll be glad to take care of that question and answer. All right.
Okay, let me make this larger for you guys. Okay, the difference, the charge, the GL amount, if you did have materials, then the material cost would be in this column. If you're recording programs and rounds jobs, or you're trying to pull the numbers for a programs and rounds job, then the chemical cost would be in this column. So the travel time here comes from what you recorded either with Clip2Go Web or inside of record work as the guys were doing the job. So you'll see that the total travel time for the entire season is almost an hour and a half worth of time. So that's definitely another important number to include when we're trying to figure out how much this customer cost us. Right here, you'll see the average hours that this customer took was 0.41, so a little less than a half hour. The budgeted time, the total budgeted time that we had for that customer was 15 hours. The total actual time that it took us was 10 hours. So that means that we have a difference of 4.5 hours. So basically we're ahead of what we were trying to make by about 4.5 hours. The total dollar amount that we did for this customer in value, remember it was actually charged through the installment, so it wasn't charged through the job, but the value of that was $655.20. Total travel time, I just showed you guys, that's almost 1.5 hours. And then our total average dollars per hour is going to be $60.83. So then that number just comes from basically the GL amount that we had, 655, our total GL, divided by our
Total hours spent.
Our actual time plus
Actual time, right.
Right. So 10.77. And then later on you'll see a number that includes travel time down at the bottom.
Yeah, because this is just for this one job. This isn't for the whole contract. The whole contract is at the end of this, which would have everything that we're doing for them. And that tells us what it's worth.
Right. So this is just the lawn maintenance job. If you see, we did other services for Jenny Tang too during the season, and we included all of the jobs when we pulled the report. So we've got an aeration and overseeding that we did, and our budgeted time, actual time. Here's how many dollars per hour we made on that job. Our early spring application. It looks like we're ahead of the game on most of our spring applications. Actually doing really well on that, so that might be a area that Clip Lawn Care wants to expand into. We've got a winterizer application, and then totals for Jenny Tang. Our average dollars per hour with everything that we did for her is $64. And then our average dollars per hour, including the travel time, is actually $55. So we lost about $10 an hour total for everything that just traveling to do everything that we did for her.
Now you notice that that we started out with the main job that we do is the lawn maintenance. That's the bulk. That's $622. Our total GL amount is $890. So the contract is worth $890, but the bulk of it is in mowing. And so you can see how with the lawn care applications they're huge. I mean, this one's $293 per hour, but of course it's a small amount of time and a small charge actually. So it doesn't raise it. That's the neat thing about this. I mean, this is a pretty intense report. It doesn't raise it by a huge amount. It raises it just a little bit. So we end up with $64. So it's good that we have the chemical application stuff for Jenny Tang, but in the long run, it's only raising it by $4 per hour. Because it has to be stretched out over how much. What's your bulk of it? And the bulk is the mowing. So if we wanted to raise anything, we could actually. This is where it gets really interesting if you're negotiating a contract. If you're negotiating a contract with Jenny Tang, let's say right now, let's say she calls us and she says, I'm not sure if I want to go with you guys or not because you're kind of expensive or something like that. And we say, hey, you get the whole package. We're going to lower your cost per application. So we'll lower it by 10 or 20%, but we're going to keep your mowing the same. Well, that would hardly not hurt us at all if we did that. Or we could say, we're going to raise your mowing by just a little bit, by $1 a time, which would give us a bit more money, but then we can lower it by $5 a time for the chemical applications, and we'd still make more money. So there's all kinds of ways that you can try to manipulate this and make it look making it's legitimate. You're giving them a discount, but at the same time, you're not really losing all that much money on the account. But you can do that if you have this information. If you don't have this information, you can't do that. You can't do that. So before you get to that, there's a couple of questions here. Lacey was asking, why don't we have a red and green contrast on the report? Well, because you can sort by dollars per hour. So when you get to a certain dollar per hour, I mean, that's it. That's your line where it is. So that's why we don't have the red and green. If you have a suggestion for it, please send it in to wish@clip.com, and we can, if you want to use red and green ink, we can certainly do something with that. But anyway, the other one, if I'm charging $40 for a two-man crew to cut a lawn, it will automatically show 30 minutes budgeted time on the route sheet for my crew to see, assuming our cost per man hour is $40 per hour. Not sure, Michelle, what the question is. Do you get that one, Dave? You know what she's asking?
Yeah, I think what she's asking is what ends up showing up on the route sheet. What we show on the normal route sheet would just be the hour worth of time. So we'd show that the job has 1 man hour to get the job done in. The route sheets that I liked were the enhanced route sheets, and that's the ones that I actually cut grass with when I was out in the field. And those ones will show you, okay, for one guy, you've got 1 hour. But then it'll show you for 2 guys, you have half hour. If it's 3 guys, then you have about 30 minutes, 33 minutes. If it's 4 guys, it breaks it down, I think, all the way up to 6 guys. So if you're looking for something like that, check out the enhanced route sheet. And then along the lines of what Lacey was asking, if you preview this by dollars per hour, you'll see that we start with Heiss Charles, who's at 43, which is the lowest one in this report right now. And then Jenny Tang was around 70, I think. So then she shows up as the last person. She was 64. So she shows up as the last person on the report since she's the highest. So it's sorted from lowest to highest dollars per hour.
What I've recommended to some people is when you get ready to do your new contracts, you print this out for all of your customers for the last year, and then draw a line. Let's say on page 3. Let's say it's a 50-page report. Draw a line on page 3 and say everything from 1 to everybody that's on pages 1 to 3 or 1 to 10 or whatever, you're going to jack their price up substantially, and everybody else you're going to leave alone or something like that. So that's your green, yellow, and red right there. Just depending on what page you're. So that's how that works.
Okay. The enhanced route sheet that I was talking about, Michelle, is this one. This is the summary sheet, and then this is the route sheet. And it's actually been modified to show just 2 and 3 people. This is Clip Lawn Care's one, and actually they don't have very much workout right now. But you'll see for like Rollins, Beverly Rollins, total time budgeted is 1 hour and 5 minutes. For 2 guys, that comes out to 33 minutes. If there are 3 guys on the job, it comes out to 22 minutes. So that gives the guys basically a goal. If there's 2 of them, this is how long it should take. So helps out with that. Back to our job costing report. What I just pulled was a detailed report to Excel. So if you open that up, we just give you kind of the raw data. Here you go. If you want to play around with it, then you can. So like Dave was saying, if you wanted to add $1 to each one of these lawn maintenances, you can see that there's 24 of them, I believe. So that would be $24 total for the entire year. If you want to figure out what the weight is, you can run some averages inside of Excel, and you can base it off of budgeted man hours, how long it actually took on average to do that job. Different numbers. If you want to create some averages and stuff, you can do that. Another cool thing that I like to do with these reports in Excel is, say you have a customer that's at $30 an hour. So you need to get him up to, so let's say he's doing $30 per hour on average. You need to get him up to your $45 rate so that you're meeting your goal when you're going out and doing that job. If that's the case, you can run a couple numbers and figure out, oh, I need to raise him 10%. So basically 30, I think it's just going to be 30 divided by 45. So that tells me, oh, well, I need to raise him, change that to a percent. That tells me I need to raise him
66%.
You
have to raise him 33%. He's 66% off.
Right, he's off by 66%. So it's actually 45 over that number. It's the opposite of. I was a finance major, but every once in a while I get myself mixed up.
Yep. Now there are a couple of questions here that I can hit right off the bat while you're figuring that one out, Dave. And so that is, go ahead, 33%.
33% is what we need to raise him by, and that would bring us right up to the $45 goal. So you can create some formulas like that in Excel.
Just looking at it, Dave, it's 50%.
50%?
Yeah, because he was at 30. You're trying to get to 45. That's half of 30. So you need $15 more per man hour. So it was 150. 150 was correct. It needs to be raised by 150%.
Right, 1.5 times.
1.5 times,
what
right.
It currently is.
Sometimes it's easier to just look at the number. Anyway, here's a question from Lacey. It says, you said Clip Lawn Care's goal was $45 an hour. Is that the same for fertilizing jobs? Probably not. I think our fertilizing jobs we're trying to get $60 per man per hour. But again, we can see that. But as a full account, we want to make at least $45 per man per hour. In Jenny Tang's, we're making 60, so we're good. We're 64 actually, $64 an hour. Another question from Lacey says, why do you separate travel time? Don't you apply it to the overall man hours and customer pricing? Absolutely, Lacey. I agree. There's so many people out there, though. If I said you just have, and I did this for years, and said travel time is part of the job. You can't do the job without travel time. Blah 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 blah. And so many customers, so many companies out there think that they want to see it separately for whatever reason. They probably have their good reasons, but they want to see it separately. So you can do it either way, and that's why we give you the man hours without travel time and the man hours with travel time. So that's up to you, however you want to see it. But we give it to you both ways. I wouldn't separate it myself unless it was a particular customer that's in a new area that we're just opening up. Then they're going to get walloped with travel time, and I'd want to avoid that. So anyway, those would be my two things. What do you got here, Dave?
Okay. Next thing I wanted to show you guys is this option to send it to MapPoint. We've got two different numbers here. It's going to be red if it's below $40 per hour. It's going to be green if it's above 50. So that lets me kind of see an overlay of my customers, and I can spot, oh, well, here's one that's not very valuable to me, or one that I need to raise the price on, or maybe get more customers in that area so that the travel time's not affecting me as much. And if you look on this left-hand side, you just get a column that shows you the average dollars per hour, including travel time. So Heist Charles, I'm at 38, which is under my 40, and Jenny's Hang, I'm at 58. So that's just another way to see your data, and sometimes it's really good to see kind of pockets where you're located. If you pull this for all of your customers, you'll get a bunch of green dots, and then maybe around the edges you'll see some red dots. That'll kind of give you an indicator, oh, our travel time is starting to pick up around there. Maybe we need to drop those customers, or maybe we need to get some more customers near them so that our travel time can be split between all of those customers.
Also, if you see a pocket of green, then you can also look at it and just try to analyze what's good about these customers. Why are they doing so much better? And then when you answer those questions, you'll be able to tell your estimator or yourself, whoever goes out and gets new jobs, business development, be able to tell them, go get these. This is the kind of person we want. Like in our case, and I've said this a number of times, but in our case, we look for newer neighborhoods that have small trees. We hate leaf removal, haven't been able to figure out good ways to make a lot of money at it, so we look for properties that have small trees. That just solves that problem. There's plenty of work out there. There's tons of work. You just have to go look for what you want.
The other thing that Clip Lawn Care also does, talking more along the business lines, jobs like that they're not really sure how to estimate or even sure if they want to take, they'll just charge the customer per hour. So they say, well, we don't usually do leaf cleanups, but if you want us to do a leaf cleanup, we'll go there and we'll charge you $45 an hour. That way they know that they're making their goal for sure. They don't have to worry about whether their estimate is close or off. They know that they're making $45 an hour because that's what they're charging.
We do that. We don't like that though, because we can't make it. We can't do any better than $45 per hour either. That's the bad part about it. But yes, there's always jobs that you're going to do by the hour, but you try to minimize those.
Right. And sometimes your customers want you to do something, and it's easier to do it than try and find somebody else that you can sub it out to. So here we've got another version of the job cost report. If you go back to our reports, job reports, go to job costs, actual costs, you'll get to this report. The screen looks very similar, but there are a couple of differences, a couple of key differences in the report. Before I even pull this report, I'm going to say I don't recommend it. I would recommend just using the normal job costing report instead, because the normal job costing report, if you remember that formula that I gave you guys, it's price minus materials divided by how long it took us will give us our average dollars per hour. For the actual job costing report, you'll see a couple other numbers in the report, and it's going to be the price minus the employee cost per hour, and then minus the equipment cost per hour gives us a kind of a gross profit per hour number. But what it doesn't include is it doesn't include a lot of the maintenance on the equipment, maybe some of the office overhead, just paying the rent, paying the people that pick up the phones in the office. It doesn't include a lot of those other numbers, and that's the reason that a couple webinars ago we created that Excel spreadsheet that tells us what our hourly cost is just for running the company. That gives us a number that helps us come up with a goal. So for Clip Lawn Care, they ended up with a $45 goal, and they know that their costs are around $23 per hour, so they know that they're going to be making a profit because they ran those numbers. So with that caveat, I'll just show you guys the actual job cost report real quick. We'll go ahead and preview Jane Kenny. Not a very profitable customer for us in general, but you'll see we have some of the same information here. We've got the date, the time that we did it, how long it was supposed to take us, how long it actually took us, what the difference was between
Can you
those
move
two.
that to 200%, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Hang on just a second.
There you go.
Okay. Yep. Where was I? The difference, the charge, how much we charged her. She wasn't an installment customer, so we charged her the full $39.60. Any material costs that we had, any chemical costs, just like that other report. But then the two extra columns that we have now are the equipment costs and the employee costs. So you'll see we have $20 in employee costs, and that's the employees that were on the crew. I'll show you where that comes from in just a minute. So remember, the formula I gave you for this report is price, so $39.60, minus the employee costs, which is $10. We didn't have any equipment costs in this case, and for this other one it was $9. So the total would be $79 minus the $20 divided by the actual time it took us gives us $15.68. Now that covers, hopefully, if all of our numbers are correct, that will cover our equipment costs, that will cover our employee costs, but it doesn't cover a lot of the other expenses of doing business, hiring an accountant, answering the phone calls in the office, buying new computers and desks and chairs, that type of thing is not going to be covered by that number. So it's better to use the actual job cost, the job costing report instead of the actual job cost report. Those equipment numbers and employee cost numbers come from system, crew setup, and then each crew can have a different equipment cost number. And then if you go and pull up an employee's count, then inside of this employee information, there's a employee cost. So that's where that number comes from.
Okay, Luke has a question about will the job cost reports account for any manual transactions the crew may have gone over budgeted time 1 week, but they did extra work that was billed in a manual transaction? No, manual transactions will not show up, but if you enter those transactions as a job and then record it as done, it will, and it'll show up as part of it. So that's a good point. Try to avoid manual transactions for those types of things and enter it in through a job. So create a job called miscellaneous work or something like that. Add that to it, and then it will show up in the account for the job cost report.
Yep, and when he says a manual transaction, he means through this enter transactions button, just creating a transaction. This doesn't, you don't put in any times, you don't say who was on the job, so we can't track it because we don't have any of that type of information. So typically I recommend that customers will keep at least 1 or 2 miscellaneous jobs just for those weird things that pop up, and then record them that way instead of recording a transaction. So it helps keep track of more information. Any other questions on the job costing report? Okay, looks like we don't have any more. The next report that we're going to go over is going to be the actual versus budgeted man hours. We'll hit that real quick, and it looks like we're getting close to the time, so we'll see where we are after that. This budgeted to actual report will just give you the budgeted hours versus how long it actually took. So if I'm pulling it for all customers, if you want to only pull a certain job number, you can do that, or certain crew range, say like a chemical crew or something like that, or if you just want your mowing crew, you can separate it out that way. Sort by is just the order that it's going to be in. So right now, customer number is fine for what we're looking at. Detail will give us each transaction. Summary will just give us a summary line item for it. Okay. So let me zoom in this report a little bit for you guys. Okay. I recently changed out some printer drivers, so it looks like that's messing with my beta copy of Clip a little bit. What I've got here is I've got my budgeted times and my actual times. And let me check my data here. That's why. Make sure that you're pulling for the correct start and stop dates. Now you see I've got about 200 pages worth of information. Before I was only looking at like maybe 1 page of information. So it's important to make sure that you put the correct information in if you want to get the correct information back out. So if we look here, we've got Thomas Shockey.
Want to zoom in?
Yep. Hang on. We do a couple different jobs. We'll go back to, we'll use Advani. We have a couple, as you saw as I was flipping through the pages, we have a couple of jobs that are just crew time. So we do want to keep track of that somewhere. So we've got a customer setup called unbillable time, and we've got some crew time that we record to that customer
Now
the guys every day.
that's what Luke was asking right here. It says, would you suggest having a similar miscellaneous job for equipment issues that may cost the crew time? Yeah, set up a customer called unbillable time and add some jobs under there called, breakdown, this, that, and the next thing. And then you'll be able to see actually a job costing report on that. There won't be any income, but you'll certainly be able to see how much it's costing you for all those types of things.
Yeah, and how many hours the guy spent on just shop time. We call it shop time. Maintenance on equipment, whatever you guys want to call it. Some of those overhead numbers. So basically, this is a pretty simple report, just job number, crew number, budgeted time comes from that same field inside of job when you record it, the actual time, and then the difference, and also travel time. Right now, like I said, I've reinstalled a printer, and I think it's bugging out on my screen a little bit, messing with my screen. The budgeted time, and then the total is at the bottom for the customer, so 14 hours and 0.21 minutes. The actual time that it took us was 9 hours. So that means we're ahead of the game for this customer by about 4 hours. So we know that we're making our goal, and we're actually beating it by a pretty good margin. That's what this actual budgeted to actual does. It just gives you an hours report. Some people bid things more in hours for commercial jobs and stuff like that, so this report will help you find that number.
Yeah, a lot of people want to know where we are in our season, which we'll get to not this time, but next time probably with the season summary. Where we are in our season as far as spending the hours on there, and the actual versus budgeted helps you with that. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, actually, for that type of thing, figuring out where we are in the season for a commercial job, say I sold 1,000 hours, how many hours have I gotten through for this season? The best report, I think, to pull is a budgeted versus actual Gantt chart. It gives you a lot of cool numbers, but I'm not going to have enough time to cover it, so come back next time. We'll go over how that report works. It's a very cool report, and it goes very in-depth as to how many hours we have left and how many hours we've used, and also how many dollars we've used for that customer. So.
Okay, why don't you show us just quick? We have a couple minutes. Why don't you show us the updates to the calendar that we've done over this last little while?
We've been working hard here at Clip. We're doing a lot of programming, a lot of cool things that we've been adding. I know one thing that Dave is talking about is we've kind of rethought out this calendar. So if you guys use this calendar to drag and drop jobs from one date to another, then you've probably noticed that you can only do one job at a time. Kind of a bummer if you're trying to move like 3 or 4 jobs to a different date. So what we've done is we've added these check boxes so you can check 3 or 4 jobs, and then this date picker right here, and you can say, hey, just move these 3 jobs over to whenever, Wednesday or Tuesday, whatever day you guys are working on. And we think that'll speed you guys up a lot. Another neat thing that we've added is you can adjust these columns to match what your company does. So for example, if I really want to see the customer name at the beginning of my grids, I can drag that over here. I'll put it even before the job name. So that way I've got number, customer name. Click this Save the Current Column Positions button. It saves it, and now I've got number, customer name, and job name. And then we've also added a couple other columns here too. I believe there's man hours and crew. So you can get more information, move stuff. For those of you who haven't worked with this calendar very much, this zoom in function will also let you move jobs between crews. So if crew 1 is overloaded and I want to move some of their work over to crew 3, you can do that via drag and drop on this screen. So
hey, I'll do crew 1's work. on that screen that you just had.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't be too hard.
You said crew one was overloaded. Now crew one doesn't show up anymore, and the reason it doesn't show up is because there are no jobs for crew one. So we on this zoom in, we will show a maximum of 6 crews at a time, and it will be the crews that are there for that day. So if you needed to open up a crew one, you'd actually have to go into one of those jobs on the other screen and change the crew number. You can hit that edit button, any one of those edit buttons, that takes you right to the job. Change it to a crew one, and then you hit the zoom, and then you'll be able to pull it in. So that's just the way you do it. Luke has a question here. Does that move it for the week or actually change the job for all future jobs? It moves it only for this next time. So it's to adjust for now. Now that we're getting into spring, there's going to be a lot of rain days and things like that. You're going to have to move stuff around. You move it around, but you haven't actually changed anything inside a clip. So the regular schedule will be picked up for the next week and keep going. If you wanted to move them permanently, that's why you have that little edit button over there next to the job name, and you click on that, and that takes you back to the job. You change it. Permanently, so-called permanently. Yeah, it is a time. It is a time saver. Nothing is permanent, is it?
Right. Another neat thing that we've added here too is, as you can see, like I click on this top column right here, checks all the boxes for me. If I check 2 different days worth of boxes, so right now I've got Monday and Thursday's work, and I'm trying to move it to Wednesday, it moves everything that's checked. So it doesn't matter if I had it on Monday or Thursday. If it's checked and I tell it to go to Wednesday, it'll move everything over that's checked over to Wednesday. So
now you know that the next
way of adjusting schedule.
The next question that they're going to ask is, I want to be able to move multiple from multiple to multiple days. Sorry guys, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Lacey asking, when you drag and drop from crew one to another, will it change the schedule date and crew number in the customer list? When I want to print route sheets, did it move the crew? Do we change the crew number permanently when you change it from crew to crew, Dave?
Yes.
Yes, I think that is a permanent change.
But we don't change the.
But that's not the day.
Visit date.
That's not the day. Lacey, you're mixing the two things together. You notice that you can only click on that zoom within that day. So that's job scheduled for March 14th. They aren't changing from 14th to something else. All you can do is you take the 14th, and you can move your jobs around as to what crew is going to do what job. But that will be a permanent change. You're actually moving the job from, let's say, crew 3 to crew 6 from now on.
Right.
Until you move.
The idea is you can kind of level out some of your work, and you can see some important numbers here, like if you guys enter the area for your jobs, you'll see that here. A lot of these jobs aren't really set up yet for the season, so the man-hours number is kind of low for us right now. But you'll see it's 1.12. If that's like over 12 hours, and I know it's a one-man crew on crew 10, then I can level out some of that work. It'll stay for next week, and that'll help me kind of level out the schedule. So now crew 30 has that 1-hour job, and crew 10 has a little bit less work. So it helps you to kind of balance things, and it'll keep that next week so you'll stay balanced. As far as the dates go, that's more for just adjusting for rain or a temporary change in your schedule. You do want to have the job set up correctly inside of jobs so that they reoccur when they should. This is just for working around the like rain days, that type of thing, delays.
And the answer to your question, Lacey, about when I move them to another day, will they show up on the route sheets printed for that day that I moved it to? Yes, that's the point. And so if you went in here and after moving these jobs around, you refresh the workbank, printed out your route sheets, then they would show up like they are showing right here. So you would have your new route sheets. And a lot of people like to do this at the beginning, let's say really early on Monday morning, and you're looking at your week and you're saying, it's hard to believe it, but July 4th will be here soon, and you say, okay, we're not going to work on the 4th, so I'm going to have to move some jobs forward, some jobs back. So on the week of the 4th, that's when you start looking at this and you start saying, okay, what do I need to do? And we also have that button called This Week, which just knocks you back to your current date. in case you got yourself mixed up by going forward and back. Show them how you can drag and drop, because some of them might not know that, drag and drop to another date into another week, Dave. You remember that?
Oh, yep. Yeah, this is one of those features that you don't really know unless you've paid attention to a lot of the classes and information that we've put out there. But if you grab, say, for example, Angela McLean, and you stick her on Monday, it'll drag her over to Monday the 19th. I don't see that day on this schedule. I see the 15th, 16th, 17th, but the 19th is in the next week. But if I go over to this week, I see that she got dropped onto the 19th. So this gives you a little more flexibility if you want to drag to a date that's not on this screen already. You can do the same thing with the checkbox. If I want to send it back to, say, the 9th, then I can do that and move to a screen that I'm not on. And if you use the shortcut this week, then, actually the 9th is
That's the
week.
previously recap on Friday.
Okay.
So she's mixed in there somewhere.
Now she's back on,
Yeah.
now she's back on Friday.
So the last question, and then we have to finish because we did say we'd do an end, is are these updates available for ClipXE, or will they also be for the desktop? And the answer is no, they're only available for ClipXE as far as this new stuff. Most of our new programming is happening in the XE version. So obviously I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and get up to the XE version. There is a lot of stuff going on, constantly going on with the XE version. And that's where you get Clip2Go, and you get a lot of the new stuff for all these different reports and stuff that we're talking about. But that's where they are. So, any final thoughts, Dave?
Just make sure that you know what your numbers are, especially before we get started with the season. I know a lot of you guys are gearing up for the season. Once you get into it, it's a lot harder to explore some of these reports and get an idea for what's going on. Again, I left that link inside of the chat. Go ahead and download it if you want to grab that manual and take a look at it. Like I said, we still haven't had a good chance yet to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but I think it'll still be very useful for you guys. So that's it.
Okay, so y'all remember, your success is our business. Thank you very much for being a part of this webinar, and we look forward to the next time. Just keep watching your email updates, and we'll have some more coming up. So thanks a lot, and have a great week and a great season.